Yes, I am online. Can people see me? Good
Yes, we are
afternoon.
seeing you.
Good afternoon,
Yeah,
everyone.
good
Pleasure
afternoon.
to be back here today to talk about railways in Nigeria. I'm, of course, a Nigerian, and I love Nigerian railway development. My presentation will be on the screen shortly, and I had to make some adjustments. Um, is it on the screen now?
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, it's
Okay.
on now.
Great. So, because this has been hosted by a Chamber of Commerce, and these are business people who want to understand how the railways work and how they can get involved and make the best of it, I
Okay.
tilted the focus a little bit. And the focus is basically how to build a resilient railway for all time. And in doing that, I kind of looked at the six issues, the seven of them that have been raised as areas of concern by the Chamber. And the approach I've taken is to look at to affirm the case that railway investment is a good thing for Nigeria and to highlight the constraints and the progress made so far, and then highlight the sustainable collaboration as key to the issues raised in the seminar by this chamber, and then to highlight the elements of railway delivery that can help to build resilience. And that's where we talk about building the capability for people to lead and to deliver so that sustainable railways can be built in Nigeria. So, so here I'm kind of highlighting the question: is it worth the trouble investing in railways in Nigeria? Thinking about the sustainability of current financing plans and all those issues, the fear of the debt trap, and things like that. So, um, I've come to the kind of conclusion that yes, it is worth it, and it is worth it because, of course, there are a lot of local and global issues around why railways are a good thing for development. Some of them highlighted there, which are economic, social, and environmental issues, which require that Nigeria has no choice but to invest in railways for the variety of reasons that are shown on the screen. Of course, we know about the concern about the climate and the emissions, and of course, the need to reduce poverty and to create an inclusive society. So that's the kind of headline things why it is worth it. Um, so going forward from that is to now say, concerning the chamber about the issues about financing and the debt trap, is to ask the question, can we afford it? And the question I say is that is the wrong question to ask, because the real question actually is, are we ready to build and run efficient railways? And I think going from the antecedents for many years now, especially since the promulgation of the 25-year railway strategy, it's clear that there is a desire for us to build and run efficient railways, because the partnering we're having now with China in particular, showing that we are determined to build efficient railways. The other part, of course, is whether we're ready to run them efficiently, which I'll come back to later on, as a proof that we are actually ready. Let me just maximize my screen. To do that, there are, of course, been initiatives in place already with 5-year income tax relief for rail infrastructure investment. So government is aware and prepared to put it in place, incentives for investors. Now, on the headline is to say that it's a viable sector to invest in as commercial people, as a chamber is interested in. And I think these headline figures really show an estimated, this is 2013 figures, 50 to 60 million tons of freight available to move on the railways. And these are the kind of things that will help to justify investment by business people. Now, let's look at other aspects of sustainability, which one of the headline figures about sustainable financing, sustainable operation of railways is that the public are waiting. There's a high public support, and I've given a green flag there. There's high public support for railways to come and take their place in Nigeria, as they used to be in Nigeria many years ago. So, and I've highlighted the green bulb there, just to show from my own experience of working with London Underground, that 6 months after the Jubilee line extension was put in place, within 6 months, the extension reached full capacity. And then we had to go and do a 7th-car project to enlarge the capacity of that branch of the line. And notably, even during COVID-19 restrictions, the Jubilee line remains busy up to now. That exactly is a narration that when the railways become available for Nigerians to use as commuters, as travelers, it will reach such capacity that we will be forced to really think creatively of improving services. And we're going to come to the point later on where we need to start thinking about reconfiguring this sector and how we can allow other people to invest in railways and build railways everywhere across the country so that we can take care of the 400 million people who will be showing up in about 30 years' time. So that is a justification for that. So I'm going backwards. Okay. So on the headline, I've kind of highlighted very quickly here. The green, we have some green flags and some amber flags about where we are now with railway investment in Nigeria and the delivery we have. Thankfully, we have good leadership in terms of at the national level. There is a good awareness now, and that we have to do something about railways, and we're taking the right steps. There is a policy lacuna in many aspects where things need to change, and therefore that's a red flag for investors. Rolling stock, we're getting brand new kits, so there's a dissemination that we're not going to be buying old stuff. So we're in the right place. Route planning, of course, relates to the railway master plan, the availability of flexibility and creativity, as Jide has referred to, about how do you encompass railways, allow railways to fly. So let me move to the next one. I'm not going backwards again. I am. So these are kind of elements of the what's been going on. There's a disjointed case. It's a disjointed situation in the within the policy framework. There are different kind of organizations. There's no coordination between the governments, between agencies, and that needs to be addressed at the highest level possible with collaboration between the states and even the local governments and private individuals and private entities. So what are we going to do about the situation? We need to start thinking creatively. I know that in November or December, there was a move by, I think, a rep, Mr. Benson, for an amendment to the schedule. And we need to address the issue about the concurrent list and devolve powers for railways across the country, from the federal government to the state governments, even local governments, because all we need is the creative leadership to be able to handle these issues. So without going too much into detail about that, I think the headline issue had been mentioned earlier by other presenters. So again, this is about intermodality. Railways, when we build the railways, are we thinking about other connections? Are we thinking about what we can do to offer the community? How we can maximize value out of the railway locations so that we can get more out of our investment. Then the whole idea of what I'm talking about is the stakeholder value chain, that these 7 issues can be addressed within a framework where the value chain that is within the mission or the vision for the investor is understanding that resilience has to be a key factor in determining what kind of stakeholder mix that you have and how you use your people to deliver value so that it's a worthwhile investment, it's an investable project. And I got about 2 examples of what can be done. In terms of financing the business for the railways, but I'm thinking, where can you find collaborators who have a common interest that can drive value out of it? I mean, I was doing the numbers yesterday. About 700 people died in tanker explosions between 2008 and 2015. it happened last week again, last in Lagos, week before. These are stakeholders who have invested interest that the railway investors can partner with to find a common way in which they can maximize value from investment. Then, of course, the big issue, again, I go back to London and I say TfL, that is London Underground Transport for London, have just got approval to build 850 flats at Acton Town. Now, there's no reason why a railway investor cannot capture land, use land value capture, and partnering with house builders and developers to help Nigeria to deliver that deficit of 17 million homes. And these are all part of understanding that the master plan of the railways across Nigeria has to fit into different kind of objectives and maximize the value of the tracks on the tracks on the trains. So quickly, again, I look at the last mile value capture. We're looking at supply chains, we're looking at big retail, we're looking at the community, just as Jide referred to the community rail, and how the railway investment can bring together these disparate forces so that you're having a holistic approach rather than just putting wheels on a track bed. Because as we all know, the railway is not an engineer's playset. It's just not about putting wheels down. It's something that is inclusive and should give value. So then we come to that point where we say empty trains don't make money, and you can't pay back investors if you run empty trains, either for passengers or for freight. So if that is the case, the important thing is you're going to go back to the bottom line as you're designing your rail strategy and your investable project, the business case. You need to realize that these three elements, intensity of use, quality of service, and safety, are critical to what you're going to have to be delivering or offering for investment. And how do you deliver these three elements? You deliver them by having, at the end of your strategy, a good customer experience. And this kind of diagram captures the relationship between your stakeholders and your people and all the KPIs and standards and behaviors that are required to you to go to the front line of the delivery, the train driver, the conductor, the signaler, the station manager, who are the ones that are going to give the value to the customer in the depots, and you understand that, make that chemistry. So I had an observation that I made from looking at this diagram, and it's in terms of, again, how we look at the stakeholder value chain. I just noticed, you can see on the train at Regaza, you can see there's a gap between the train and the platform. On the other side, it's a level crossing. When you're thinking about the value proposition, the customer experience, you're looking at reliability of the service, you're looking at the customer experience, accessibility, social capital, you realize that from design to delivery, there's something that has not worked quite well. And we need to be thinking more in terms of this kind of issues so that we don't have to be doing corrective work after we deliver such a big project. So let me go back to, so again, this is the indication of the incident of November 20 last year, where the and this is what happened. So we don't want to have to build a railway. That we're delivering a railway, we open money, we need to run the service, and we're having customer experience of that time. About how people are going to be working and running.
Okay.
We'll move quickly to the end. I'm at the end of it now. So the point is that your people that drive the railway to stop.
Please mute your mic if you are not talking.
So it's the people that drive the railway from the leadership. So the people that are investing in the business, the leadership to the front line, we need to start building the capacity at all levels to make sure that every person, from the CEO to the man on the gate, they were working to the same agenda to justify the investment by the government in the railways. So, and again, let me go back. I think I've almost finished now. So, two things: sustainability. These are the key elements that the investors who are thinking of doing railway investment to be thinking about. Have you defined the characteristics of a sustainable business for customers and stakeholders? Do your strategy and operations align with value chain in front? So it's this kind of mix that takes serious thinking. So we'll go back to the end now, to the same picture, the stakeholder value chain. When you look at those 6 elements that we're concerned about today, I believe that we look at resilience from the beginning. We look at our stakeholder mix. Are our stakeholders going to help us to deliver a resilient railway? And if they can, we agree a value chain that helps the front line to use a framework that delivers a surplus at the end of the day. So the Nigerian people, as I said, they are waiting for a world-class railway, and I believe it can be done. We're on the right journey, and I think that with the best of everything we can, in a few years' time, we will have a railway in Nigeria that will be world-class by every standard. So thanks very much to the AACCI, Mr. President, and Mr. Olawale Rashid for inviting me to have my say on this webinar. It's a very exciting time for railways in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes.